Welcome to Still Untitled, the Adam Savage Project. I'm Will.
I'm Adam.
And I'm Norm.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, guys, it's raining in San Francisco.
Woo!
Yay.
It's so exciting. I drove, my wife's job is at, effectively, it's a 5-minute car ride from our house.
Okay, so that's like 3/4 of San Francisco.
No, it's actually, right. It took 40 minutes to drive this morning because San Franciscans all lose their minds in the rain.
Totally true.
Carl the Fog this morning tweeted, and just to be clear, we realize the irony of complaining about weather here on the West Coast.
I'm not complaining about weather. I love the rain. I love the rain.
But when you talk about rain here, people think we're complaining about the weather.
Yeah.
We complain about the people.
And right now, on the East Coast, it's like negative 200. Basically, you walk outside, your eyelashes freeze. Dennis Quaid turns into an ice sculpture right in front of you, and it's all over. There's nothing you can do.
There are parts of the country where one day it's like 3 degrees, the next day it's 50, and if we had that in San Francisco, that would be the apocalypse.
We would all lose our minds.
Yeah.
I mean, once every 5 years when the pipes freeze here and everyone loses their...
Well, I mean, our houses aren't built to withstand any kind of weather whatsoever.
Except earthquake.
Except earthquake. So my wife has been looking at this list of a full taxonomy of foreign words for emotions that we don't have words for here.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Schadenfreude is the most common word in that.
Or the Japanese word for having a book that you have not read yet, right? Like
what? There's a word for that?
Yeah, yeah.
A book that you're excited about reading but you haven't read yet?
Like
something like that.
Pile of shame.
Yes, that's exactly it.
And then there's... I'm going to get the pronunciation wrong. The Danish word hygge.
I'll take your word for that one.
It is that feeling of a deep sense of place, like with your family at the holidays. Right? It's like that sense of homey feeling on the holidays.
Yeah. It's the antithesis of the Virginia Woolf feeling.
I feel like culture would be improved if we all use these words regularly
Well,
as a way to express
that's
ourselves.
what the reason he made this list in so many different languages. And one of the words, and I can't remember the actual name for it, I'm sure someone will pipe in here. I believe it's a German word, and it's window weather. And it's weather that's delightful to look out a window at, but awful to be in.
So pretty much winter.
Well, I mean, there are places where winter is more and less beautiful. Like when my wife and I got married at the Marin Headlands Center for the Arts, one of the things that sold us on it was this is a place that will look gorgeous no matter what the weather is. And there are places that don't. There are places that get real dark and unpleasant when it gets rainy.
So you mean like riding a bus and looking at the rain swirling around the glass?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well done, Norm.
Wow.
Norm has done a segue.
Wow.
It was the dramatic pause you took after that made me look to you and see that smile on your face. That I just stole some apple pie, Jeff Sessions' little glint in your eye.
Ooh, how dare you.
I'm just a little possum.
That is not nice. I'm going to turn you down.
We went down a rabbit hole of watching a lot of Kate McKinnon this weekend. Watching her Jeff Sessions impression, watching her Gal Gadot impression.
Oh, it's great.
I can't get enough of Kate McKinnon.
My daughter has been sick now for like a week and a half, so we've watched a lot of children's TV in the Smith household, and she's the voice of the new Miss Frizzle on Magic School Bus.
Yes.
On the Netflix
right.
Magic School Bus. And that show is a delight. I know there was controversy about them sexing up Miss Frizzle for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But
it's great.
Yeah, it's really good.
Oh,
it's
that's
super
awesome.
Good. Yeah.
I love hearing that.
Good science. And like my daughter loves it. She doesn't care that she's learning stuff. It's really good.
Will, have you watched that Black Mirror episode about child rearing?
No.
Oh, which
There's a new one this season.
Norm,
I'll just give you the premise because you don't have to see how it
there's enough
unfolds.
dystopia in the world right now without me watching Black Mirror.
I feel like
Actually,
it would
the
be
Black Mirror
especially
Metalhead
resonant.
episode from this season is the best Terminator movie that's been made in years.
Yes.
What about
That's the
one
Boston
that
Dynamics killer robot dog.
I'm
episode.
scared of those videos, and they just post them on YouTube. You don't have to have Netflix to watch them.
This video basically, if you're wondering, those Boston Dynamics videos kind of freak me out. I wonder what the worst case scenario would be. Black Mirror has written it and filmed it.
Well, I think one of the reasons that we both come to the conclusion that it feels like a great Terminator movie, and that's not to say some of the Terminator movies have been better than others.
But there's more than two?
Yeah, exactly, right? They're the good two.
In retrospect, 3 was nowhere near as bad as I thought it was at the time.
Well,
I worked on 3. I built the particle accelerator. For
that's movie. Right. The magnetic, tiny magnetic particle
I
accelerator.
didn't build the set. I built the miniature that you see through the window.
Yeah.
Wow.
Von
Those
Davis
films,
and I built that set.
The films never caught. They reused the same idea of what what was unnerving about the first one was the machine looked like a human, right? And you could not tell who was the assassin. But the idea does not, it didn't carry over. Like, they just use the same idea over and over again. Yeah, it needs a big crazy chase. Yes, like, but what the Metalhead episode of Black Mirror does is it takes that same unnerving feel and takes it to actually what makes sense today, something we can relate to, which is the anthropomorphizing of robots.
But also the specific weird uncanny valley of watching them. Like, you
valley.
get to see this dog run towards you from a distance, and it's...
I think
You
that's
can feel that it's biological, but it's also not quite. And the fact that it's coming to kill you is even weirder.
and that
scarier.
is exactly what the first Terminator film tapped into, the uncanny valley of the robot killer.
right. Arnold was born to play a robot.
even the
'cause
second
his
one.
his whole
Yes.
face is in the
Yeah,
uncanny valley.
when Robert Pattinson, no,
Robert
is that-
Patrick?
Robert Patrick,
Robert
Robert
Patrick.
Pattinson is sparkly Terminator.
I don't think Cedric Diggory is going to make a good Terminator.
But he's running, and it's such a mechanical,
Yeah.
like the mechanism is repeated in a way that humans don't do when they run.
It really is about that weird gap between the uncanny valley, and they went way over the top in the most recent Terminator films, and like, well, what if it just looked like a robot with some like skin pasted on it? That's not uncanny
Right.
valley.
Yeah.
With a dog, it's like it doesn't need to look like a
such a
dog.
good
But anyone
episode.
who's watched the Boston Dynamics videos sees the uncanny valley in that because we impose upon it life.
Also, the season opener for this year's Black Mirror, which is a Star Trek,
Yes.
starring Meth Damon. What's his name?
Jesse Plemons.
Jesse Plemons. He's wonderful.
Poor guy.
He was just in Breaking Bad, just that one season. Yeah,
He was
neo-Nazi.
amazing in Breaking Bad.
And Fargo season 2.
That episode, I'm sorry,
It's fine.
It's a Star Trek type episode in which
Nothing says Black Mirror to me like a utopian.
No.
Star Trek.
and that's actually, this plays on the dark side of that mirror.
So everybody has mustaches. And
It's a really amazing episode. In fact, the layers within layers that episode gets to, I won't spoil it for you. Just to say that if it looks to you like it's the most lighthearted of this season's Black Mirror episodes, get ready, because that one's still
yeah.
pretty freaking dark.
No, I mean, look, it's the way Black Mirror works is you're watching episodes, and at some point I'll watch it, but 2018 so far has been a little rough. Like at some point you're watching it, and then you realize that there's a turn coming, but you have no idea what the turn is, and then next thing you know, you're kind of in a ball on the floor weeping for the future of humanity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
if you need that in your
checks
life
out.
right now,
Well,
maybe take a look
the
at
reason
this.
I bring
Actually,
it
the
up,
very first season, the first episode has it's a very positive.
it ends in a great
Yeah,
great
ends
note.
on a
Ends in a
terrific
really
note.
it's
An
like
amazing note.
They've called it like a great pilot for
Yeah.
a potential TV show because it has an idea that you haven't really seen.
Oh my
for
God,
in
you're
science fiction.
right. It is.
Yeah.
These are on Netflix now, right?
These are on
Because it
Netflix.
used to be you had to go to BBCA or something like that.
So
and now
Netflix is
they're
paying
easier
for
to
them.
get.
So the reason I bring up that one episode about raising a child,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
is
I haven't seen that
and I
one
can
yet.
give you the premise. It's called Archangel. Jodie Foster directed it. It's not a big twist long episode. It's one of those watching the performances of how this technology, but simple premise. If you have the ability to implant in your child, and I'll give these to both of you, and the implant lets you through some type of tablet device see anything they see,
Oh, I absolutely wouldn't do that.
would you do it? So you know
No,
where
there's
they
no
are.
chance.
I would.
And let's say your child at this point, because you have 18-year-olds, you have a youngin.
Look,
like if you were two,
if such
and this
a
is
technology
possible,
existed
when they were two,
when they were two,
we took the
I
nurse-
can keep a child safe.
Yeah.
The only reason I would want to violate my kid's privacy would be if that service existed and my kid could turn it on to show me that they're in danger.
Yeah.
Right.
Right?
Yeah,
would
that's a whole
they
different
would
thing.
have to have
Yeah.
all the agency in the implementation of that technology.
Like we turned off. Like Gina and I had a big conversation about this because when our daughter turned, when she started expressing desires, right? That to me, that's when I stopped doing a bunch of dads because it felt creepy, like I was telling somebody else's stories instead of telling mine, right? And it's when we turned off the nursery camera. We took the nursery camera out because it
Nanny
felt
cam.
like
Yeah.
it felt like she wasn't likely to suffocate in her sleep from laying the
Right.
wrong way in the bed, but B, she was a person and she deserves that privacy.
There's a video that hit Reddit in the last few days of somebody who woke up in the middle of the night and they found their daughter, their toddler, I guess she was just over 2, playing in her room after she was supposed to be in bed. And this is a lovely parent moment, right?
Yeah.
And frankly, I've always been on this side. My wife has always been like, "What are they saying?" And I'm like, "I don't listen. I don't. That's theirs. That's their thing."
Yeah.
Right. But this parent, and I still understand wanting to know what they're saying, but their privacy is a thing, even at 2. And so I don't know if it's he or she. The parent walks in through the dark hallway to the lit kid's room, and you see the little girl like sorting her toys and talking to herself, and they move all the way into the room, and the daughter doesn't notice them, and then the parent giggles, and the daughter turns up and goes, "Oh!" and like freaks
You
out.
scared the hell out of her.
Yeah. So scares her. You can also see anger in her face at the violation of, "You shouldn't be doing that to me."
Yeah.
And I agree. Like that daughter has an expectation of privacy even at 2, which I respected in my kids.
It is a total slippery slope from the heartbeat monitor to the night vision cam, crib cam, to the nanny cam hidden in a doll.
Don't get me wrong. I also have tracked my Thing 1 and Thing 2's phones through Find My Friends and Find My iPhone at many different points in their lives.
But they know that's a
they
thing that
do.
you do.
I've been very open
Yeah.
and upfront with them about that.
I mean, my wife and I turned that on for each other so that, like, it's just, like, that's a time-saving thing, too. It's, hey, instead of me texting you and saying, hey, are you blah, blah, blah.
I tell you, that is a bad thing for relationships.
What, texting or having it on?
Having it on.
Really? Oh, it's been great for
we
us.
And Drew Curtis has a practice in which whenever he and I have a meeting in a city, that morning he'll text me his location. He'll share with me his location.
But that's a proactive thing where he is texting you, like, I can share for the next hour.
Yeah.
Versus the passive always on. Do I feel like I'm always being checked on, or
I don't.
Yeah, I don't.
I always feel like when I get picked up at the
You
airport.
got stuff to hide, Norm?
No, when I
You got
pick up
some
at the
dark
airport.
secrets?
Well,
What's your Black
That's
Mirror
a co-
episode?
the car is still at the house.
You can't promote that fallacy of an argument.
I know.
That is a terrible thing. If I have
It
nothing
is
to
bad.
hide, what do I have to fear? That's the worst.
But I mean, I guess the question is, the thing is, we're talking about Black Mirror. Is I'm thinking this is the closest thing we have to Twilight Zone now, right?
Oh yeah, no,
like
it's completely
no doubt.
a perfectly modern, updated Twilight Zone.
Yeah,
And Twilight Zone's coming back, so we'll get the Twilight Zone, actual Twilight Zone.
yeah, okay. Sounds great.
Hey, can we go to? I want to talk about a movie that I saw this week.
Did you see Last Jedi again?
I have seen Last Jedi again.
Okay,
And it's still great.
it's really good.
It gets
Yeah,
better every time.
Yeah.
I'm
That's not the
kidding.
movie we're talking about.
Okay,
No,
what are we talking about?
Shape of Water.
I said I
Yes.
was going to go see it last weekend, and then I canceled because I'm a lame person. So let's talk about this. Though.
Well, it is Monday morning after the Golden Globes, so congratulations to Andre Desplat, the composer of the score for Shape of Water, and to Guillermo del Toro for winning Best Director against an absolute murderer's row of directors.
Yeah.
Male directors.
All
male.
white male directors.
Yeah.
Let's be clear.
Natalie Portman.
God bless Natalie Portman.
I mean, that was
a great Golden Globes on an activist front in every way.
I love my way of watching like everything but the Academy Awards now is just to sit in Twitter and watch the clips as they come up so I can watch the entire thing in about 18 minutes.
That's why I like Deadspin, for seeing how soccer's doing.
Yeah.
It shows me just the highlights.
Hey, look, somebody scored a goal this weekend. Congratulations,
Exactly.
guys.
Nifty head goal. Ooh,
Yeah.
own goal.
But yeah, the Natalie Portman thing, the Oprah talk was incredible.
Yeah, I turned to my friends and I was like, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that Oprah is really good at talking.
Who knew? I don't know why they bleeped Frances McDormand on the TV.
They were afraid she was, I think they kept on being afraid that she was going to say shit or fuck. And I think that a couple of times they thought she was saying that, so they kept on
Trigger
trying
finger.
to, they were
Yeah.
terrified.
Wow.
They have every reason to be terrified of Frances McDormand. She's a goddess. I
Oh.
love her so much. Watching her stand up there is the kind of like, she's such a badass.
Yeah,
I love her.
the best.
I love her.
I still haven't seen that movie. I want to watch it.
Three
so
Billboards.
bad. Yeah.
I haven't seen Three Billboards yet either. I'm super excited.
That and Lady
about it.
Bird are like.
Yep.
Now the theaters will be packed. And
But-
hopefully the theaters will be packed for The Shape of Water as well.
I
because
really
what
hope
a
it
well-deserved
gets a
film.
second breath of legs for this, because it's an amazing film, and I want to talk about it,
Second
Will,
breath
and I
of
want to
legs.
spoil it if that's
So yeah, it's fine.
Well,
we
let's
can spoil away.
let's do a couple minutes of non-spoilery talk. It's been the background for The Shape of Water. Guillermo del Toro. It's his 10th film. He has done, but previous to this, I think his last two films were Crimson Peak and then Pacific Rim. And this is apparently an idea that he had festering in his head while the making of Pacific Rim, kind of like the Universal's monster movie he's always wanted to make.
He said it to me, it was his version of Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Right. And that movie and that creature is probably one of the most influential creatures for special effects artists and horror directors.
Is Creature from the Black Lagoon the thing that Alan Moore did the comic for in the 90s or early 2000s?
Swamp Thing.
Swamp Thing. I always get Creature from the Black Lagoon and Swamp Thing mixed up.
Creature Black Lagoon, it's the Gill Man.
Okay. You have a mask here, right?
Yeah, I do.
It's up here.
Where is it?
Right there.
There you go. There's Creature from the Black
But,
Lagoon.
okay, and is Creature from the Black Lagoon a monster, or is he like a superhero environmentalist who happens to have swamp powers?
Monster.
Okay.
Very clearly
Okay.
monster.
Good. Thank you.
And Guillermo del Toro has done, as you can see in Hellboy, Abe Sapien, which he didn't create, but is an underwater character. And he has said that he loves Abe Sapien, but that is not a monster creature.
No.
He wanted to do a monster movie.
David Hyde Pierce voiced him. He's not a monster.
Exactly. Still Doug Jones though. And so
As the performer.
Yeah.
And so Shape of Water, an idea that actually from his writing partner on The Strain, I believe, came up with the idea. It said, what if it was a love story between a creature and not the scientists, but of like the janitors in the place
Or the people who have to take care of the people you don't see in the movie usually.
Exactly.
Right.
And he
Sally
latched
Hawkins, the amazing Sally Hawkins.
over breakfast when that idea was brought to him. He said, "That's my next movie." Bought the idea, wrote the script over 6 years, and the movie's out. And it is an adult fairy tale.
It is. I loved watching Guillermo shut down the music, trying to play him off, and he turned and said, "No music, no music. It's been 25 years. Stop it."
Like he's one of those directors that for me is usually like I'm going to be in the theater, like I'm going to see this movie in the theater, right? Like I agree. Even before we knew you, right?
Yeah.
Like because I know you have a relationship, and we came in here and the first thing we saw in your cave was the Hellboy gun. But like, I saw Hellboy in the theater. I saw Hellboy, and I was like, this is an amazing filmmaker. Pan's Labyrinth was like, I walked out of that movie just wrecked.
Yeah.
And you kind of never know it's like Danny Boyle. You never know what you're going to get when you go see a Guillermo film.
He's a genre enthusiast and deeply knowledgeable film historian. I did a set of interviews with Guillermo for Criterion last year, and he gave me, I think, 15 or 16 films to watch before the interview. And it was such a masterclass in seeing how amazing film history has been in these corners that you don't know about. So all of this he brings to bear on every project, and it might be a giant tentpole action adventure movie, or it might be like this, a really, really beautiful, small, intimate monster film that is unique.
And very clearly, he is a visual artist. Like from his sketchbooks, which he's in his Cabinet of Curiosities book, you get a lot of his sketches. Whereas, like, Tarantino, who made an equivalent number of films, I want to say, close to it. You kind of know what you get with a Tarantino film in the texture of the dialogue. Like, right, you're going to get Tarantino's.
Right.
Like, what would you say you get when you buy a ticket to watch a Guillermo del Toro film? If you know nothing about it, like, what is the through line of his films?
There is always on at least one character's part a search for this, a really important emotional search for some missing part of their heart. As far as that's right off the top of my head. I haven't spent time thinking about this. It's a great question.
I mean, if you think about like Pans, there's a child looking for parents, right? For parental figures. And if you think about, I mean, I don't know what it is.
Looking to also
Pacific
make
Rim.
sense out of a senseless war world, out of nonsense and fairy tales.
Yeah.
The little girl, I think of the little girl holding the red shoe in Pacific Rim as the centerpiece of that movie.
There's actually a lot of that in his films. Like Hellboy is about Hellboy looking for a demon with daddy issues, right?
Totally. And he even said in the description of the little girl, it's like, oh, the little girl is walking. He says he described in an interview that she's walking with something that's obviously a metaphor for her heart.
And his stories they're all myths. They're all like modern myths, like monster films, vampire films. Blade 2,
Giant monster,
Ghost Stories,
Monster versus Robots.
Yeah.
But also you're going to see something you've probably never seen before. Like when you go into Pan's Labyrinth, he took us into a world of I like. It's a world that I didn't know existed.
Right.
It's a world I'd never even imagined existing.
Like Spirited Away.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, exactly. Or the first time you saw Totoro, and you're like, "Oh, this is a completely different view on mythology than I have as somebody who grew up in North America, in America,
Right.
in Christian mythology."
Exactly.
So Shape of Water.
We have gone
Gosh.
non-spoilery up till
I mean,
now.
like, if you're not sold on this movie
Wait,
now,
I wonder
Yeah, why
also-
should people go see this?
There's another aspect that we can talk about before doing spoilery discussion, and that's Doug Jones. So we're in this great era where, what is the latest Planet of the Apes film?
War of the Planet of the
War
Apes.
of the Planet of the Apes, which is amazing. And
I haven't seen it.
is that a 2017 film? Or
Last year, just
Yeah.
last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it didn't win anything last
No.
night, and it's an amazing movie.
Totally.
Matt Reeves directed it.
Matt Reeves, yeah.
It's a masterpiece. Holy cow, is that movie great? And a significant portion of why it's great is Andy Serkis. And we're finally talking about
He plays Caesar still, right?
Yeah. And he's played Caesar for all three of those movies. He also famously played King Kong. He played Snoke in The Last Jedi, played Gollum in The Lord of the Rings. And the industry and the culture is still trying to figure out how to award people, right? He hasn't been nominated for anything, even though he's recognized as a great actor. Doug Jones, too, has been a muse for Guillermo since the beginning of his career. He's played many of the big monsters in his films, and he's an incredible physical performer. So much so that it's actually his voice, it's his voice in Hellboy 2, not David Hyde Pierce.
Right.
That Guillermo wanted to give him that honor of allowing him to use both his voice and his body for the role of Abe
And
Sapien
he's a
in the
lead
second
in the new
Hellboy.
Star Trek Discovery show in full creature makeup, but also his performance, his voice, and everything.
Oh,
I
really?
did not
I didn't
know
know
that.
that.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's really cool.
Recurring. Yeah.
So his performance as the monster in Shape of Water is also amazing. Is beautiful, and I've read some interviews about how Guillermo spent a long time trying to make the monster kind of sexy.
Yeah. So we don't, like. There's a creature in it, and it's
Yeah.
inspired obviously by a creature from Black Lagoon and lessons learned from designing Abe Sapien, but they wanted something more monsterish than the elegance of Abe Sapien. So Legacy Effects did the initial previs for it, and then we talked about last week, Guillermo brought in Mike Hill, sculptor Mike Hill, who he's a patron of, and is a sculptor we know, amazing sculptor
Unbelievable
to do maquettes and a clay sculpt.
Mike did the huge Frankenstein head, right? Yeah.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
and
Among
Cheney
a
and
bunch of
another
other
portraits.
things.
Yeah, he did those full-size figures of what do you call it? Edgar Allan Poe that Guillermo has at Bleak House, and also of Lovecraft, H.P.
Yeah.
Lovecraft.
And it's the subtle understanding of like human anatomy and how you combine that with creature anatomy to make this character. I would describe this creature as very princely in the Shape of Water. There's a regalness to it. I mean,
Right.
it is a creature, but like just the way the gills around the neck, you get full looks around the creature.
You can see it. It's not
shrouded.
obscured.
No,
Okay.
no. It is there in the movie.
Huh.
And it's a foam latex bodysuit that he's performing in.
In the water?
In the water with
Oof.
silicone hands and an animatronic rigs in the back for the moving gills, and that is not easy to perform in 6 hours at a time.
No. It's an incredible
It's an
performance.
incredible
and
day.
all the performances in the movie, Richard Jenkins, Sally Hawkins, Octavia Spencer, Michael Shannon.
Yeah,
Like, everybody is amazing in this movie.
Wow.
Everybody is it. And the main character, who is a mute janitor played by Sally Hawkins, is it's a lot like we talked about downsizing. I said in both Downsizing and Shape of Water, you meet women you haven't met frequently in movies before, and Sally Hawkins' character is an amazing character.
Apparently, the character was written for her. It was written for her, and whereas Guillermo, in one of his filmmaking processes, writes biographies for all of his characters, like full stats, like what people think of them, what their favorite thing is, here is their life story as dossiers to give to the actors. He didn't do it for this character, for Sally Hawkins, because he knew that Sally, because it was her,
She would get the
that
character.
she would get it, and she would bring more to it than he could ever write out for her.
So there's this great moment. Now we're getting to spoilers.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay,
so if
here we
you
go.
don't want to get spoiled, like
If you
I'm
don't
about
want to
to.
get spoiled, stop now. But Will is going to get spoiled.
But I mean, the thing you told me, we talked about this before the show, and you said, look, this is a movie that's gorgeous. There's no big twist.
Right.
You're not going to miss anything by coming in spoiled.
And
It's just like Man of Steel when we talked about that years ago. You said it's fine to talk about this without having seen the movie. I'm sorry.
Awesome.
I'm sorry, Guillermo.
Well done.
I didn't really mean that.
So there's this, obviously she falls in love with the creature. That is the centerpiece of this film. She and the creature really do have a love affair, and they achieve sex.
Okay.
We don't get to see that graphically.
mean,
Although it is a hard R-rated movie
Yep,
that
and
does
it
not
earns its
shy
hard R, yeah.
from what it could do to have that hard R. But there's the point at which Octavia Spencer says, "Really?" to Sally Hawkins, and says, "Does he even have a?" And Sally Hawkins nods, and then I'm not going to try to do the pantomime, but she does a pantomime of what she encountered.
Oh boy.
And it's beautiful.
Okay.
It's a beautiful pantomime. And the look on her face as she's doing this while thinking about it, it is one of these really gorgeously honest moments. And it's almost what you're looking at is her I mean, I guess you are. You're watching her coming of age as a woman.
See, I think that's a little different than. I think the film succeeds at not infantilizing her.
No,
and there
it
was
does
a
not
fear.
infantilize her.
And
No,
there was a
it
fear of like
absolutely-
because she's mute, because
No,
she hasn't.
excuse me. I don't mean and I like she shows up as a fully formed female human.
Within the first scene.
Within the first scene, they
Yeah.
establish this is a unique character
This
with
is
her
a-
own life.
a woman-
And she does not feel like she is excluded from any other part of life.
Yeah.
Like, I totally agree with you. But and in addition to that, when she does that little pantomime, and it's such a sweetly intimate moment of her enjoyment of the intimacy. She's not
Yeah.
afraid of the intimacy at all.
Yeah. No, she
so
embraces
it. Doesn't, it's good for you to point that out. It does not infantilize her at all.
Right.
How does she compare to like the woman from Logan? Did you both saw Logan, right?
The little girl?
No, the woman who brought the little girl out of the because that was again it's like the cleaning staff at the facility or the orderlies at the facility pull these kids, rescue these
different
kids.
characters.
Different character?
Yeah,
Okay.
completely different characters. I feel like this is the texture of this film is so much like a graphic novel, so much a painting.
There's a lot of the Juno brothers in this film. There's a lot of inspiration. The Juno brothers who did City of Lost Children and Delicatessen.
I felt there was a lot of Coen brothers in this film too.
Interesting. Yeah, interesting.
In some of the quirk.
What's that?
In some of the quirk.
Yeah. And the aesthetics feel a little like the.
Who shot this? Who was the DP?
I don't know exactly.
You know what? I was
I'll
just
look
reading
it
this
up.
long thing on Michael Dealey last night, so my cinematographer brain is totally.
But yeah, the look of the film is textured for sure. It's 1960s, early 1960s.
62.
62. It's definitely in that post-war, but right before like Camelot falls, right before.
The men are all still in suits. They still wear hats.
But it's not Mad Men.
No.
It's like at the end of Mad Men before Vietnam, where like we feel like America's in a fairy tale, but like the ugliness is starting to seep in. And there is some ugliness in
There's
this
a
film.
lot of ugliness. In fact, my Mrs. Don't Try This, my wife, there's a scene in which Michael Shannon, as the villain in the film, and he's a much more complex villain than the trailers would lead you to believe, where Michael Shannon is effectively torturing the creature with cattle prod. And that's when my wife walked out. She couldn't deal.
Wow.
We all have our thresholds for
Yeah.
movies.
I think Guillermo would be okay with that. With like he wants his films to have those moments where people are uncomfortable and would walk out.
Yeah,
Well,
if you look
and
at Pans or Mimic or any of his like less mainstream movies, I mean, Pans is hard to
the
watch.
scene where the Colonel is
God.
sewing back up his face.
Just any scene with the Colonel, frankly. Like,
any scene with the Colonel is almost unwatchable.
Dan Laustsen was the cinematographer, the DP.
It's amazing. It's beautiful, and as you said, not only layered, but layered like a painting. Like every scene has lighting and detail going deep into the background.
Something I did not know until I read the art of the book, which is highly recommended if you love the film, is that in the sets, so one of the sets, she lives in an apartment that mirrors neighbors with Richard Jenkins. Richard Jenkins is the other guy who's not Bradley Whitford in Cabin in the Woods.
Okay.
Great actor. He's an artist, and they share this loft space above a theater, above this Orpheum Theater. in Baltimore. And the theater itself is a character in the film. Their
Yeah,
whole
totally.
residence. But one thing that in the production that's may not get caught is on her wall. There's a mural. Did you know that there is a mural of the Japanese waves?
Oh no, I did not.
And it's
realize
one of
that.
Guillermo's famous or his favorite paintings apparently because it is one of the best portrayals of the shape of water.
Oh.
And it's all cracked and the production designer painted it on the wall and it's all falling apart, but
That's
it's just there.
awesome.
Wow.
Yeah.
So in her apartment, what you see is on the right-hand side of the frame a wall and a half of a semicircular window. And I first thought of also, when I saw that, I realized, oh, we're going to see the other half. And it turns out to be Richard Jenkins' apartment,
Right.
or that she's got this half of a thing, which is in and of itself narratively interesting.
Yeah.
But I also thought of the desk that, good God, Jonathan Price shares with the other guy in Brazil.
Yes.
Remember
yes.
they have
Oh,
the two
right,
officers
between them,
and
they pull it
show-
back and forth.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
exactly.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh.
So let's see, at the end of the movie, what is this about? Like, is this a love story? Is this a happy ending? Is this a
I think the
tragedy? Is it a comedy?
It's a love story, and I think it's about love in many forms. I think The Shape of Water, the name of the film, is about how water is it's the most powerful thing, the thing that's life-giving in all of the world, but we give it shape by containing it, and love is the same thing. And love is all around us, and we are the vessels for love, just like cups are vessels for water.
Also, I will give
That's
you
really
that
deep,
we
though.
are that was beautiful. I will also give you this, that we are mostly water. And
Yeah.
we come in many shapes and sizes.
Mm.
And Sally Hawkins plays a version of a human that is missing some key components that she is aware of, that she is comfortable with, but that's part of who she is. And she meets another sentient being that is a very different shape and sees past all of that to its essence, which is that we are made of the same stuff.
How do they communicate?
She teaches him sign
She
language.
teaches
Oh, okay.
him sign language.
Yeah.
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 That's that beautiful thing of her saying egg.
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
me,
And
egg.
And apparently it's sign language circa 1960s.
Oh,
which is
that's
different.
A cool little bit of
Yeah.
Easter egg stuff.
Yeah, so
Really?
that had to be learned because ASL is an evolving
A-
language.
yeah.
And ASL is different in every language.
Right.
No,
Every
No.
country has its own.
I took ASL in college. I
Oh,
was
okay.
bad at it. It was
Then
really
I won't mansplain it. to you.
phenomenally hard. But yeah, like there's English and Spanish, and yeah, everybody has a different kind of flavor.
It is a film that I think watch it to absorb all the feelings and all the imagery, read about it, read the interviews, and then watch it again. And there's so many nuances.
Octavia Spencer is phenomenal in it. Her character is, again, you may feel when you watch the trailer that her character might be one-dimensional. Don't be fooled by that.
Okay.
If that's another thing that typifies Guillermo's movies, is he loves all his characters, especially the villains. He loves them all and gives them
Michael
full
Shannon's
marks.
home life, the little glimpse we
Michael
get.
Shannon's home life is terrifying.
Yeah.
I mean, his villains are always. I mean, he doesn't do one-dimensional characters.
No,
Like
no,
if there's
no,
a
no.
character in his film, it's going to be somebody that's interesting and you should spend time thinking about.
And as Elmore Leonard said, I never met a villain I never wrote a villain I didn't like.
Yeah.
Michael Shannon is absolutely really scary in this. You know what I realize he looks like? He looks like a extra handsome, super evil David Letterman.
Michael Shannon. Are you Michael Shannon from Walking Dead and no.
From Man of Steel,
Oh, right,
Boardwalk
right.
Empire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So go see Shape of Water.
Yeah.
Go see it in the theater. It is super worth seeing in the theater.
I'll give one more thing, and this is
Yeah.
something that I didn't realize. But I had to read about it, but I want to share it, and I thought it was special. The movie poster is of them embracing in the water, and it's in the film. This
Yeah.
is a scene in the film.
Yeah.
Where
It's
they're
right before
embracing.
the monster says, and that's the shape of water.
But they are embracing in water, and her shoes are falling off. And I think it's even in the poster. You see her shoes. It's a beautiful, just like visually beautiful scene. Apparently, that is Guillermo intentionally putting there as a reverse Cinderella moment.
Ooh.
Huh.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah.
Huh.
That's a lovely elaboration.
I mean, I'm excited to go see this in theater. Usually his films are so big and there's so much detail and texture in each shot that, like, when you watch Pacific Rim, even on a 65-inch TV at home,
It still
it
feels-
looks like a cartoon instead of like something that has real impact. And it's a different experience. So, I'm going to go this week.
Hey,
Probably
and
more next
both
week.
Stranger Things and Shape of Water did bad things to cats this year.
Yeah, fuck cats. Dogs for life, man.
All right. Anything on the site this week?
Yes, we are launching a new regular show with our friend Ariel Waldman about the interesting
awesome.
places where science fiction and science intersect in pop culture.
Oh, she's
and our
the
first
best.
guest is Dr. Jill Tarter from the SETI Institute, as we discuss the movie Contact, which was partly based on her work.
Awesome.
Exciting.
And then next week we might be off. We might be doing hopefully something remote.
Yeah,
we'll be doing some
we can do
traveling.
something remote
Yeah,
next week.
so we'll be on location next week, and you'll have to wait till next week to find out where.
Yep.
Okay.
right.
Well, safe travels, gentlemen. We'll see
Thank you,
you
sir.
when you're back. And this will be the last Still Entitled. Well, you guys will do Still Entitled next
Yeah,
week,
we'll
but
do.
yeah, I'll be away for a while.
All right.
See you guys next time. Thanks for
guys.
watching. Bye.
Bye.